Hello, haunt friends! Every now and again, life provides charming little bonuses that help keep it all vastly worthwhile. In my recent series on tombstones, I contacted a few companies to request the permission to use their names as places that had commercially available foam cutting equipment. And one of those places was kind enough to contact me back, saying, hey, would you mind doing a little review on some of our stuff, and we'll send it to you for free. So, not being an idiot, I said, sure, send it on down. So, we have a bit of a surprise. These are some tools from the Hot Wire Foam Factory. And they were kind enough to send them my way for me to do a little expose. And now, before I begin any kind of reviewing, I will dabble into a little area that occasionally gets me. I watch a number of YouTubers who talk about video games, and video game publishers send them stuff for free. And then people immediately say, because you received it for free, your view is biased. Absolutely. Absolutely, completely. I am ecstatic to have received this stuff, and very happy that I get the chance to use it. So, I will do what my colleagues, if you will, in the YouTube reviewing business do. They just try to give you the most fair, and as far as we can go, the fairest line we possibly can. So I'm not going to say, this tool stinks at this. What I'm going to do is show you what the tool can do. And I'm going to show you in comparison to some of the other alternatives to that tool that are available. I'm going to try to give you a price range on each, talk about what tool is best for what, and just try not to lead you astray. And effectively, I'm giving you the facts, and you can decide for yourselves. But here's what we're reviewing today. This is the 2.75 inch. Yeah, I know it's all the way over here. I know, okay. Believe me, you're going to see it close up later on. 2.75 inch hot wire cutting knife. Why am I turning it on? It's not even plugged in anything. And let's see here, their engraving tool. Right here. They came in this nice little case, which they were kind enough to send. They sent me a single power supply. They do offer a variable strength power supply in addition to the single strength. This is a 6-volt power supply. They also sent me 2 DVDs that come with it. The first one is a generic DVD that comes with the kit version of this, and it just shows you all their tools and how to use it. So it's very handy if you're just starting out. They also sent me a cool DVD on how to make foam tombstones, and I thought that was pretty slick. I just made a series on how to do it, but there's nothing wrong with seeing other people's way to do it as well. So they have quite a good selection. And as I go over this, I'm going to go into, again, prices, so you have kind of the complete gambit. Bear in mind, all prices are roughly as of September 2015. They can change over time, as you're all aware, but that's the time frame that I'm doing this little review in. So without further ado, we're going to start hauling these out, breaking them down, and comparing the tool versus all the other available items, and you can see the pros and cons of these things. Okay, here we are at shop level, if you will, and I have all the stuff for cutting foam. I'm not even going to try to get in the picture, really. I also wanted to briefly demonstrate the 2 videos that were sent to me as well. One on making tombstones and one on just general kit. So, at any rate, what's out there to cut foam with? Lots and lots of options. There's the old Mark I box cutter, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with. Does a great job, but only when it's sharp. And it gives you all sorts of effect. I am recycling these scraps from some of the test bits I used to make the tombstone. So, box cutter, very good for foam cutting. There's these. This is a hot knife. It does its job. It's imprecise. It gives you kind of warbly edges. If you're cutting through a big piece of foam and you really wanted to just kind of chop it up and be like, I'm gonna make a tombstone out of this half and a Hello Kitty bunk bed with this half, whatever, this would let you get through it quickly. The problem with this is it gets really hot. It gets the foam burning. Don't make tombstones with these if you have another option. I got this one off the internet for about 15 bucks or so. Yeah, I should probably mention, good box cutters set you back 12 to 15 bucks, replacement blades, etc. But yeah, hot knives, I don't care for them for tombstone making. They have their own place, but when it comes to a tombstone, give me a wire cutting tool any day. Alright, good, didn't break it. Okay, other commercially available options. The Wonder Cutter or Styro Cutter. Anywhere from 10 to 15 bucks, depending on what hobby store you get it from. Battery powered, so over time it will lose effectiveness. I showed you guys how to make a power supply with which you can make your own hot wire cutter. This is my own little adaptation tool that I made out of some scrap metal, scrap wood, and a spare audio cable. So we'll be taking a look at that. And we have the Hot Wire Foam Factory cutter. And here it is. So let's take a look at these options, minus that god-awful hot knife. Well, the box cutter I already did briefly here. Standard, reliable, needs no power, and will always get you a good cut. So if you've got nothing else, that's a good option. Let's promo the thing that I was set to promo in all this. This is one of my twist ties, not theirs. I just didn't want this cord hanging around while I was chatting about it, because it just doesn't look as good. It comes with a audio jack power supply, which is pretty nifty. And it's got its own bit that hooks up. This is they will send to you. This particular tool, as of this time, retails for, and I wrote it down to make sure I would not forget, the Crafter's Knife 2.75 inch retails for $34.95. That is how much this device will run you back. It's got a simple on-off switch, and it's got a nice feature. There's a flat section at the bottom here, so if you set this tool down and the cord isn't somewhere entangled, it will not roll around on you. So it's fairly nice and safe to just put down. Turn it on. Some of their tools take a moment or two to warm up. Just going to test here. The crafting knife, if I remember, does not take too terribly long. Good. Alright. So this is the Hot Wire Foam Factory crafting knife. Hey, let's do that on the side where you can actually see what the hell's going on. So here's the pink. And there you go. It's got a number of advantages. The first one that I like the best is, unlike all the closed circuit wire loops that both I made earlier, this thing is a straight up knife. And I can use it to flat out cut. One disadvantage that I find when working with solid tombstone stuff is I get all these fuzzies coming off of it. But for the utility of being able to carve in whatever direction I like, wherever I want, I'm kind of willing to live with that. As always, when you are working with styrofoam cutting tools like this, be careful of the smoke that is coming off. Fortunately, my kitchen is decently well ventilated, especially at the moment, because in the other room I've got a fan going, sucking this stuff out the window. And this will give you the full range of control over a project. You can come around, come to the side, really shape it however you want. And again, when you're not using it, just turn it off. Do make sure though that you grab a piece of paper towel, which some idiot should have really had here, because you're obviously seeing there's this black gook that's building up on the cutting surface. Obviously the tool will be hot. Make sure to carefully keep your tool clean. If it doesn't come off first run, you can turn it back on to get the stuff melted up again. If you're using a paper towel like this, obviously have several folds between yourself and the tool so you don't end up burning yourself. Fortunately, it cleans very, very rapidly. And you do need to make sure that this wire does not get bent. It becomes kind of a temptation as you're going through a project to try to really push your way through fast. You could end up bending this delicate wire. It's not terribly delicate, but still, it is responsive to force. You could end up bending it to a point where it just gets out of shape, and then you try to bend it back and you'll never get a really good straight cut again. So that is the hot wire foam factory tool. Here's the Wonder Cutter. Obvious problem with this one is if you try to cut too far in, you're going to run into the tool's limitation. Now this one's batteries are maybe at about half strength right now. It does cut considerably better when its batteries are at full charge. It's not a bad tool by any stretch, and if you're just trying to do stuff like model hobby terrain or anything like that, this will get you by without a problem. A pretty standard unit. Okay, this is the unit that I showed you guys how to make in one of my videos. This is the power box from it, and what I've done is just taken two pieces of metal and stretched it. The downside of my unit, number one, is if you're not comfortable with electronics and electricity, you make this yourself. So if that scares you in any way, shape, or form, or you're just not the adventurous type when it comes to electronics and you're not willing to jump in there, this device can seem a little bit daunting and or scary, because it scared the hell out of me the first time I made it. But that being said, this is one of your other options. And it does have a variable thing. The problem is it's going to make a considerable extra amount of smoke. The wire can occasionally snap. You have to be careful with the device. And it too, much like the Wonder Cutter here, is limited by the fact that it is a closed loop and not a knife like the hot wire foam factory unit. But let me turn that back off twice. So these are your various options for just straight up cutting of foam. The old Mark I box cutter. This is the hot wire foam factory's cutter. The Wonder Cutter. Or you can make a rig to hook up to the power supply that I showed you how to make, and that's about all you got. Well, it's not all you got, is it? But those are the options I'm showing off, and I wanted to definitely make sure I showed off the product that was sent to me and all it can do. So we're going to move on now to popular, well, maybe not popular, but at least the available engraving tools that you have at your disposal as you do your projects. Hi again! Once again trying to wedge my head in the shot, which I will soon abandon. Let's talk engravers. That tombstone is nothing without an epitaph and some cool fancy smancy art. So let us go over the tools that you will have that are easily available to do this. The first is the old commercially available wood burner. I got this one at Michael's a number of years ago for about 12 bucks, I believe. It came with a whole bunch of replaceable tips. I have replaced the tip currently to pretty much the pencil type tip, just because it's also the same type of tip you'll find available on the other tool, which is easily available, the soldering iron. This is a Walmart model, about 10, 11 bucks. And these are your two primary easy ones. And of course, because the good folks at the Hot Wire Foam Factory, stay, were kind enough to send me one, we have the Hot Wire Foam Factory Engraver to show you all today. Let us save this one for last, though, and embark upon the others. Starting with probably, I don't want to say it's my least favorite, but it's my least favorite. And I will tell you why. Here is the wood burner. Very, very utilitarian. There's nothing wrong with this whatsoever. The only trouble that I have with them, if you're using them for a prolonged period of time, this tip tends to heat up quite a bit. This is not a problem when you're first starting out, but if you're going at it for a long period of time, this little parabolic reflector here can eventually get to a point where it just does not reflect enough heat. Your fingers feel warm. It can be uncomfortable to use for prolonged periods of time. This one's going to cough out huge gouts of steamy smoke because, well, damn it, it's a hot tool on foam. So make sure, again, you're using it in a well-ventilated area. All these tools have a certain amount of warm-up time, which hopefully I will fast forward through and not yammer too much about. But if you see the screen go suddenly fast and this wiggles around and I start pointing and stuff like that, that means I'm talking, but it really wasn't worth your time. So, yeehaw. Here's my scrap piece of foam, which I have encoded with my ancient nemesis of tombstones, the letter E, because no matter what happens, these things seem to get screwed up. Obviously, in most tombstones, the lettering's important, but what can be even more fun is that cool epitaph piece of art that you're going to do. The hourglass with the two wings, the skulls, the bones, the fingernail scratches, all the other cool stuff. That's really kind of the heart of a fun tombstone. I'm just testing the temperature. When I test the temperature of these things, I like to just hover my hand over them. If I feel warmth, I know we're probably in good shape, or you can just put things right to the foam. So let's look at engraving some of these shapes. There's just a straight up engraved E. And I'm just going to do a few other little squiggles. You guys have seen me do this before in the tombstone video itself, so I don't feel the need to go crazy on this. The main thing that I will call to your attention with the wood burning tool is the speed at which this thing goes into a project. It's rather fast. It's a high heat tool for what you've got. As such, it'll leave very crisp, sharp edges on your burn. And obviously you've got the option of using the tool sideways to do what you want. With many of them there are replaceable tips, so you can swap them out for different shapes. 9 times out of 10 though, many of them just come with some sort of point, and there's nothing wrong with that, or sometimes it's a chisel tip as well. But again, if you're really using this for long periods of carving, the heat coming off of this can eventually get built up and become rather uncomfortable. The nice thing also is your controlling is rather close to the tip, unlike the soldering iron, which is a bit further away. And that is the wood burner. The other disadvantage of the wood burner is woe betide the poor person who puts this down on their favorite coffee table even after it's just been turned off. It tends to retain heat for a period of time. It comes with these little metal stands, and this is not a bad stand, but you need to watch it because it has a tendency to roll around, and God forbid the cord is hanging off the edge of a table, because the cord weight will pull this thing down and around. Yeah, gotta watch it because that will slide about. Let's go to the soldering iron. There it goes. The soldering iron stand is even worse than what came with that. If you have the means, I recommend getting one of the soldering iron stands where you actually slot it in and hold it, a proper soldering iron stand if you want to go for that. Its control surface is slightly farther away from the tip, so it can be more awkward to use. I don't really have a problem with it myself personally, but some folks may find it difficult. Let's let this one warm up. Okay, we had some minor difficulties with the electrical socket until I switched it over. But here is the soldering iron. Gonna give it just a few more seconds to reach a more optimum temperature, because right now it's just kind of starting. Oh, it's close enough for government work. All right, let's see the soldering iron in action. There is the soldering iron. Most of them come with obviously a soldering tip. That's going to be a much more pointy edge than the wood burner or the crafting cutter here. And that will usually give you a more deep penetrating engravement. If you don't want your letters going deep, then this may not be the tool for you, because to not go deep with this means you really have to just use the very tip of this, which might be good for fine lettering, but you know, there's its handiwork. And if you got fine cracks and scratches, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a soldering iron. They're cheap and effective. And they do their job. Alright, the soldering iron stand, if anything, is even worse than the wood burner. This thing is absolutely garbage, so again, try to get yourself a socketing type of unit. Also try to clean your tools off, noticing this one's got a bit of the black tar of styrofoam on its surface. And make sure whatever surface you use cleaning is very, very padded and folded up, because you do not want to burn your hands while you're doing this. As I very carefully put the soldering iron the hell over there and hope it cools down before it has any problems. Alright, let's look at the tool of the hour here. The Hot Wire Foam Factory Engraver. This tool comes alone for $34.95 from the Hot Wire Foam Factory website. There may or may not be shipping and handling included if you have it ordered to you. I don't know. They also sell 2-in-1 kits of several tools for $74.95. And that information is, again, as of when I made this video. Just like the hot knife, it comes with an audio jack input. And also like the hot knife, it has that nice no-roll surface. So if I put it down, with the exception of the cord sliding around, it's not going to go anywhere untoward. This tool heats up considerably more slowly than the others, and just like the wood burning tool, its working tip is fairly close to the grip, so you get great control with it. This tool is not as high heat as the others, so if you're ever worried about slipping and making a mistake, you're less likely to do so with this tool than the other ones. This one will no doubt take a while to heat up though, so I'm gonna carefully, well, maybe not as long as I think. I do want it to reach its full heat before I begin messing around with stuff though. There is the Engraver's E. I did not make it terribly deep, but that's because I have the option to. If I want to make a deeper cut with it, that's really no difficulty. And really, it's got about the same type of features that the other ones have. The advantage to it is that because it is a reduced heat, you have more control. The slightest little mark and touch of the stylus to the foam is not going to go super deep, super fast. So it will give you greater control. Yeah, I'm going to make a few little glyphs that were in the latest bit from another group of folks I occasionally go to. I don't know if any of you know the Mysterious Package Company at all, but they sent me a little experience recently where there were some witty glyphs of great fun. Let's see what we can replicate. And we'll just see if we can make a fun shape too. There's a quick little pumpkin guy. Alright. So these are your tools, the options that you've got, and the various costs. And that one's still on, and I can leave it right there without worrying about it, which is really nice. Okay, cool. So this has been our tool expose in terms of cutting and engraving. I hope you've been able to evaluate what we've got and happy tombstone, and happy foam making, and prop making, and all that other cool stuff making, and we'll catch you next time. Take care. Of course you realize we're not just stopping there, right? Yeah, no. I love product reviews, but they don't always give you the best idea of just exactly what's going on. So my next project is to build a tombstone using nothing in so much as possible in terms of hot tools other than the ones from the hot wire foam factory. So stay tuned, that will be coming as soon as I manage to mash it all together.